So now we're going to talk about the light-independent reactions of photosynthesis. Okay, so if you remember from the light-dependent reactions, basically we got some molecules of NADPH and some molecules of ATP out of it. Okay, also released oxygen as a waste product, and we used our reactants water and sunlight. So now we're going to use that energy from the light-dependent reactions in order to make sugars. Okay, so again, the light-dependent reactions took place in the thylakoid. Okay, so the little stacks that look like stacks of pancakes. And now all of that energy, the energy molecules, have been transferred out into the stroma where the light-independent reactions are going to take place. So this is where you're also going to see the CO2 molecules come in. So the reactions in the stroma are going to use those carbon dioxide molecules in order to build a 6-carbon molecule. So a molecule of glucose is formed to store some of that energy that's captured from the sun. Okay, so it's actually a pretty good storage system for that. The light-independent reactions actually are named after the scientists who discovered the majority of it, or kind of the basics of it. It's known as the Calvin cycle. So 6 carbon dioxide molecules will enter the Calvin cycle, and then energy is added to kind of rearrange a bunch of different carbon molecules, and then a high energy 3-carbon molecule will leave the cycle. Okay, now for every glucose, you actually have to go through this cycle twice. Okay, because each glucose has 6 carbons, and if you're only getting out a 3-carbon molecule, you need to go through it twice. Okay, so 2 of these high energy 3-carbon molecules will bond to form a sugar, which is glucose. And then the remaining molecules will actually stay in the cycle. Okay, so there's going to be a lot of carbons moving around, a lot of rearrangement of these carbon molecules, breaking them up, forming stuff. It's going to be a little weird. Okay, but what you have to remember is you're going to get a total of 6 carbons added in the form of carbon dioxide, and then 6 carbons leaving in the form of glucose. Okay. Alright, so this is just to show you how complex this whole reaction actually is. Okay, it is incredibly complex. There's a lot of biochemical reactions that take place, a lot of different chemical names and rearrangements and all this kind of stuff. Our version that we're going to be talking about in this class is greatly simplified. Okay, so all of this is what you get when you go into biochem. Super fun. This is what we're going to be using. Okay? So, we're going to start right over here. So we're going to talk about each cycle individually. Okay, so in each cycle of this Calvin cycle, we're going to be adding 3 carbon dioxides. Okay, now the total is 6 because you have to go through this cycle twice to make a glucose molecule. Okay, so you have 3 carbon dioxide molecules entering the cycle at this point here. Okay, now there are already 3 5-carbon molecules in the cycle. Okay, so you're going to add a carbon dioxide to each of these molecules, and then you're going to make 3 6-carbon molecules. Okay, now at this point, you're going to add in energy in the form of ATP and NADPH. So that 6-carbon molecule, each of those 3 6-carbon molecules is going to get split in half. So you're going to get 6 3-carbon molecules. Okay? Now at this point, you're going to add in more energy. Okay? So this is included in that ATP and NADPH here. And that's going to rearrange these 3 carbons into a higher energy molecule. Now that higher energy molecule is actually going to exit the cycle, one of them. Okay, so then you're going to be left with 5 of those high energy 3 carbon molecules. Okay, so you lose one of them, and then you're going to continue on with 5 of them. Okay, so if you have 5 3 carbon molecules, you have a total of 15 carbons. Okay, now you're going to add in even more energy. Okay, you're going to add in 3 more ATP, and you're going to rearrange those carbons to get 3 5 carbon molecules. Okay, now if you'll notice, these 3 5 carbon molecules are exactly what you started with in the cycle. Okay, so you add 3 carbons in the form of carbon dioxide into the cycle, you're eventually going to lose 3, okay, in the form of this high energy 3 carbon molecule, and then you're also going to regenerate what you started with. Okay, that's why it's known as a cycle. So as long as you can keep adding in 3 carbon dioxides and keep adding in energy, okay, you can keep this cycle going. So for each high energy 3 carbon molecule that's produced, okay, so this is one turn of the cycle, the Calvin cycle uses 3 carbon dioxide, so that's where those 3 carbons come from. It's going to use 9 ATP. Okay, so if you look back here, we've got the 6 ATP that enter here in order to break these 6 carbon molecules in half. You also have 3 more added here to turn the 3 carbon molecules into 5 carbon molecules. Okay, so you have a total of 9 ATP. You also use 6 NADPH. Okay, now for each one that is produced, the Calvin cycle will produce that high energy 3 carbon molecule. It's actually called glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, okay, or GD3, GD3P, yeah. It's going to produce 9 ADP because it's using up 9 of those ATPs, okay, and then it's going to release 8 phosphate groups. So this might seem a little bit weird until you notice that this high energy 3 carbon molecule has a phosphate added onto it. That bond is where that energy is. So you have 1 phosphate in your glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, and you have 8 phosphates that are just released. Okay, so that's why you have 1 and 8, and then you have 9 ADPs. You're also going to release 6 NADP pluses. Okay, and that's because you used up 6 NADPHs. And that is it for photosynthesis.